Okay, guys, I forgot to tell you this one story, right? I went to, I think it was FCC, I think it was Florida's college city or something like that, right? So I went there, right, with my sisters, right? And we went there and we got inside, and we were spilling out some papers, right? Because I wanted to be in a school as well, right? So we did that, right? And then the lady come got us, and she was like, "Oh, you want to be here and stuff like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah," And then we was like, I was telling her what thing that I want to be in, the nurse in the nursing field, and stuff like that, right? So she was like, "Okay, do you want to be a nursing assistant or do you want to be something else?" So I wanted to be in the nursing field, right? She was like, "Okay, do you want to do like this certain nursing for like 9 months, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "This is how much you gotta pay, to like get into the nursing field." She was telling me you can be a RN, you can be a nursing assistant or something like that, right? I wanted to be an RN, right? She was like, "Okay, you have to have these certain kind of things, right?" Eventually, I'm gonna put up the pictures right here or right here or somewhere, right? So she was like saying that, right? And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So she was like, "This is how much you gotta pay," and I was like, "Okay. She was like, "Oh, it is like $20,000, right?" And I was like, "Okay, I could get like what's that called? Not a student loan, but what's that called? My sister be using a grant? No, not a grant. What was it? I can't remember, but it's something like that where you get from money from the government or some, not the government, but the student loan or like going something like that, right? So I was like, "Yeah," and then she was like, "Oh, if you want to do that, um, I think it was what was the name? Um, so yeah, she was like, "Yeah, this is what you need," and then I was like, "I can use my sister's thing there, right? What she used to get money. Then she was like, "If you go to this person, they will tell you how much they can like take from the students, I think loan or something like that." They're like, "Oh, we can only take only 5,000 from them." And I looked at her like, What are you talking about? They only take 5,000 from them. She's like, "It's only like 9 months, so it's not like a real class, like Broward, right?" And when she was saying Broward, and she was telling me more things about Broward and stuff like that, right? I was like, I gave her a question. I was like, "Would you send your kid here?" She's like, "No." And when she said that, I was like, "You answered my question right there. So I was like, "Okay." She's like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, you answered my question. So I'm not gonna come here because you was like, Broward is much better than over here." So I was like, "Whatever, right?" So she was explaining to me and stuff like that why don't come here to go to Broward and stuff like that, right? And it was these ugly dudes, right? They came to see us, right? She was like, "Oh, these guys came to see who's coming into like the class or the school, new people coming, right? So this is why they coming to us, right?" And I looked at him like, "You came over here to think that we're gonna come to your school?" I mean, we meaning me only. It's not my sisters. So they was like doing that, right? And I was like, he was like trying to induce himself and stuff like that, and I was like, "Go away." She already answered my question, and then she was showing me around the place, right, and stuff like that, right. At this moment, my head was starting to hurt. When my head started to hurt, then I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be at the place anymore. Why I came to that place, I think it was H. No, it was um what was it called? It was called FCC, right? Before I was going there, I wanted to go next door, right, to see if I can get my hair transplant, right? And then I was like, I should go there first and then go to this FCC, right? But then my brain was not working, right? So I went there first, right? So my head started hurting, and I didn't want to hear anything what this lady had to say, right, anymore. And she was like explaining to me and showing the classes and stuff like that, right? And I was like, why is some of these people here? She's like, oh, they got their I think they nursing a license and stuff, but they just want to like stay and be like the teacher of the class, right? And I was like, weird, you know, that's kind of strange. Why would you do that? And you could just be a real nurse and not be a teacher nurse, you know, and stuff like that, right? And I was asking her like, how you like do these little things, you know, like draw blood and stuff like that. She's like, oh, you draw blood from each other, you know. And I was like, what the hell? So I was like confused by that, you know. At this point I wanted to leave, right? But then we went back to the class, right? And she's like, oh, this is the first day you have to go to this that guy to see how much money you can get from the student loan, something like that, right? And I was like, okay, you already and then I had to give her my I think it was my I think my email address or something like that, you know. I gave to her, and then I was trying, she was like, oh, I need your phone number and stuff like that, right? I didn't bring my phone with me, right? And I didn't know my number either. So my sister had a phone, right? And she had my number, right? And I was like, hey, can you give this lady my number? She's like, no, I need your number. I was like, yeah, bitch. My number is on her phone, right? So we finally gave it to her, you know, and stuff like that, right? And then she was... And I guess she needed, like, I don't know if her sugar was low or something like that, you know. And she asked my sister, can she go out in the hallway and find her like a little snack to eat on, right? So her sugar won't go down, right? So my sister did that, and she was walking me out of like the place, right? And I told my sister, she was like, why? And then my mom called, right? And I told my sister, don't answer the phone, right? So she was like, why not answer it? So my mom was calling and stuff like that. We finally answered because the lady told us to, right? And then she was like, I just want to know, I just want your mom to know that you came here and stuff like that. And I don't know if you're going to come because you want to come, because things like that. Yeah, like I was saying, you know, and that happened, you know, and my head was hurting, you know, and I was like, I'm over this, you know, I'm just over this, you know. So at this point, my head was hurting, you know, and she was telling me all this stuff, right? And when she said, like, when they draw their blood, you know, and it use each other's body, you know, and I was like, nah, this definitely not gonna work, you know. I can just use my body and then, like, draw my blood, you know. It'd be so cool if you learn how to draw your own blood out of your own hand, you know. I think my mom has a needle for that, you know. I think it was like the butterfly needle, you know. So that happened, and after a while, my head was hurting, you know, too hurt. I think too much, you know. So apparently I wanted to get out of there, you know, and my sisters found out. Oh yeah, so my mom called and she was like, I don't know if you're really sure that you really want to come here, so I'm going to tell your mom if you're really sure, instead of her like trying to like make you go inside the place and try to sign up for your own, right? She's like, oh, you need to be a certain age to fill out for yourself, you know. She's like, you have to be 25, and like in like a week I was going to be 25, right? So I was like, I don't need my mom, you know, I'm going to be 25 in a week, right? She's like, nah, you need your mom for that, right? So when she said that and then stuff like that, she's like, how I know that you're here for yourself? And I was like, I know I'm here for myself, right? So that happened, and we went back to, we was leaving, right? And she was like, and I was like, finally, you guys, we're leaving, you know. She's like, they was like, why? My head was hurting, you know. And at this point, I was feeling kind of jittery, you know, like happy, you know, because I was leaving, you know. She already answered my question. The question was no. She wanted to come here herself, right? And I was like, are you a nurse? She's like, no, I'm not a nurse. I'm just like an assistant something. Like, I think it was like assistant office worker or something like that. So I was like, okay, you know. So we got in the car. Of course, we got Burger King, because Burger King was like next door to it, right? I don't remember what I got, you know. I think it was like a spicy chicken or something like that. And my sister got something else, right? So we did that, and then we went home. My mom was asking me why you went there, you know, and stuff like that, right? And I was like, I wanted to go into school and stuff like that, right? But I didn't tell her that I wanted to go to the hair transfer for my hair, you know. So I did that, right? And I was like, I should have went there first and then that, you know, just in case I didn't want to go over there. But I wanted to see how much it is to like transfer my hair and make my hair back to where it was before, right? So like and subscribe, turn the notifications, and I'll see you later. Thumbs up. Bye. My hands like kind of band-aid.